Hello, Alex here, and in this video I'm going to take you on a journey as we repair a pinhole in the front curtain of my Rolleiflex SL66's shutter. Let's get into it. When I got my Rolleiflex SL66 kit, there were two issues. The first was that the focusing screen was not a photographic focusing screen, which I've spoken about before, and replacing that was easy. The second is that when I put a test roll through to make sure there was no shutter capping or anything, which there isn't, great news, there were these small light leaks on some, but not all of the images. To cut a long story very short, I tried the different lenses, bellows, tried masking tape over different parts of the body to see if light was getting in anywhere because I couldn't see a pinhole in the shutter or anything like that. And there was a pinhole in the shutter. There is a pinhole in the front curtain here, that's that one that you see, and it's just so small that when I was holding it up against a normal light, I couldn't see it from behind. But when I lock the mirror up and take the lens off and hold it up like this to this light, I can see it from the front. It is very small, but it's enough to expose the film in between taking photographs. So I've bought a thing of liquid electrical tape, and I'm gonna have a go at fixing it. So I've taken the lens off the body because I'll be putting it lens mount side down, and aside from that, we have a light panel, so I can actually, shine light through the body and see what I'm doing. Toothpicks, liquid electrical tape, and just some tissues. So first thing, I'll just remove the film magazine and put that aside, and then lock the mirror up so that the shutter itself is exposed. You can't really see that with my lighting setup, so you won't be able to see this. I've tried recording it, but the pinhole is more or less just up and to the left of this little scratch here, so it's about here-ish. So this is brush-on electrical tape, and I will just put some on the tissue here, hopefully not ruin absolutely everything. I'm going to just coat the tip of the toothpick and then gently, very, very gently, brush it over the spot that's there. The instruction kit says to wait about 10 minutes between coats. You can see where I applied it there, that shiny patch. I'm going to wait about 10-15 minutes for that to dry and then come back and apply a second coat, and then we'll check it for light tightness. Before I apply the second coat, I just want to talk in a bit more detail about what exactly I'm doing because I was a bit too nervous to do that while I was doing this first. So liquid electrical tape is just a liquid rubber type product. It's a polymer dissolved up in some kind of a solvent, and when you apply it as a thick goop to a surface, the solvent will evaporate off like when a paint dries and leave a solidified rubber behind it. I'm using the blunted end of a toothpick to apply just a small dollop, and then I've flattened this previously so I can just kind of spread it very, very gently across the shutter. In severe cases, in some videos, especially for Barnack Leicas, you'll see people just smear a load on with their finger, especially if the shutter is very bad. This is just one pinhole, it's not that bad, but just know, don't use the pointy end of a toothpick if you're going to be using a toothpick or anything of the sort. So I'll apply a second coat now. The stuff over here has dried up pretty much. It's very thick and goopy. It's a bit too thick to apply now. So I'll get a small dollop of fresh liquid electrical tape. I know I'm being wasteful, but this stuff is way more than I would need for like 100 cameras, so I don't really care. So I'll take another drop there. That's quite a large amount, but not too excessive. And then just where I applied it before, and I can see what I'm doing now, I don't have to put my head in front of the lens, is just apply it across that area very gently, wipe off the excess on the tissue, and then just kind of smear it out to cover the area thoroughly, and more importantly, thin it out so it doesn't form like a big bump. So you can't really see it, but I am touching the shutter, but very, very gently. There's a reason I'm not holding my hand like this. I'm levering against the edge of the body. So look, I'm erring on the side of taking this very slowly, doing multiple thin coats rather than slathering the shutter all in one go, just to take it easy and use the bare minimum amount. So I've got this roll of expired FP4 that I've half shot in another camera that I just rewound in a dark bag, and I'm going to continue with this until I'm happy, leave it to fully dry overnight for maybe 10 hours, 12 hours, it's like 9 p.m. now. Load this roll of film into this magazine, attach it, take the dark slide out, pop the lens on, and just kind of point it outside facing that window for a couple of hours, maybe go for a short walk, take a couple of blank exposures and a couple of real exposures to get a realistic feel for the amount of light that would be hitting the shutter, the front curtain, in between exposures, and then develop that tomorrow and see if there are any light leaks. At a glance, everything seems fine now, so I just held it up to the studio light like this for a little bit, looked through the lens mount, and I can't see anything, so I think we're good. I decided to keep the original footage, but wait almost a year to wrap up this video just to see how well this job would actually hold. And sure enough, it's mostly pretty much perfect. There are a couple of frames on one roll that I shot in March where I had very long periods of time between frames, like an hour to an hour and a half, where the dark slide had been pulled out. And it doesn't make a difference what you set the lens to because it's an SLR, you know. Even if I set the lens to f16, I still have to press the depth of field preview lever to close the aperture. It's not like a rangefinder. And there were 2 frames where, yeah, one of them there might have been nothing, and the other one there was definitely a small overexposed patch that was small enough that I could just clone it out in Photoshop like dust. It wasn't a big deal. So by and large, it was a successful patch, and it's not perfect, but it's going to get me by until I eventually have to send this thing off for a full overhaul and, you know, get new shutter curtains installed and all that kind of thing. The overall job is basically the same as any kind of a rangefinder, especially a Barnack camera, but yeah, there are of course a couple of small things, nitty-gritty details specific to the SL66, because there always are. Mainly the fact that it's not easy to get to the front side of the curtains from inside the throat of the body, just because it's such a deep, long camera. I hope someone out there finds this very niche video useful, but that's all I have to say for today, so stay safe, and bye-bye for now. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram at Shaka1277 for new pictures every day. If you liked this video and enjoy what I do on the channel, please consider subscribing or checking out my Patreon, where the tiers start at just €1 per month.